What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Best Family Homestead. I'm Aaron. I'm here with Hugh, my dad. Everybody calls him Papa Hugh. And today, you guys, we are going to be doing a review of the Turbo Sawmill Warrior. So any of you guys that follow my channel, you know that I've been working on this big stack of pine, which is about a quarter the size as it was. We've been cutting siding and stuff to fix up the 194-year-old house I live in. Was a log cabin and a sprawling farmhouse. So a lot of that has been able to be done because of the sawmill, which is actually my dad's, and he's let me borrow it. He'd been wanting a sawmill for a long time, looked at a lot of different brands, finally decided on the Turbo Sawmill, which is made in New Zealand, right?
Yes, New Zealand.
Made in New Zealand. So we're going to do a little overview of this sawmill and do a review of how it's been working. And we're also going to show you guys the ins and outs and show you how it works. I've got a smaller pine log here, but we'll show you how little waste you can get. With this one, I'm going to be cutting some trim 5/4 by 6 boards, or some 1 1/4 inch thick by 6 inch wide boards, as well as using the weatherboard attachment to cut some weatherboard that's going to be going on the old farmhouse. So now I'll let you explain the mill and what it is and what it does.
This is an M613 Warrior. This is the smallest manual mill they make. They make a hobby mill this same size that's 220 volt electric. And but it's a swing blade sawmill. A lot of people in this country had never understood a swing blade sawmill. But every time that you go to that end of the mill and come back, you have a finished product. Now, a band sawmill has its place, but I didn't want one. The only way that you'll get as much yield or more yield as wood with a bandsaw is you have to have 2 pieces of equipment. You have to have a bandsaw and you have to have an edger. And just that way, when you square your log, all of the little cuts off the top of your log, you run them through your edger and you get a finished product. But then this mill was right around $12,000 if I remember right. By the time you buy a band mill,
and just a caveat on that, that was the price. This is a 2019
yeah, I bought
sawmill.
It 2019.
So the prices don't quote that price.
Okay, they've got a lot of upgrades on this mill now. The 2022 model, I talked to Jake. The 2022 model no longer has this repeater. It has a repeater on the dial right here, and which I'm going to get. But see, with this mill here, to repeat your size, you kick that up, that down, and you come, and you come over till it stops. And then after you finish that, you just kick it up, kick it over, lock it, and you move it, and that keeps your boards the exact same size. If you're cutting 1.5 inches, you're going to be cutting 1.5 inches or 2 inches or whatever. And
this mill too, before we show you get into the operation,
it has a carriage brake and it has an extruded beam. Now this beam is extremely strong. Look at all the webbing and reinforcement in that.
It's got a Honda 390. It's a 13 horsepower Honda gas engine on this small one. The blade is right at 17 inches. With this mill, with the guard on, unless you double cut, you can cut up to a 6 inch by 6 inch beam on this particular mill. It will cut, what do we say, 14 foot?
14 foot and 6 inches. But if you take this guard off, you can double cut. You can cut
so you can cut up to a 6 inch by 12 inch beam. And this, there are
beam extensions.
Beam extensions, so you can extend this to cut longer if you need to cut longer. It also has a water jug that feeds to cool the blade, which helps just smooth everything out a little bit.
And the 2022 model also has a middle support, and the jacks are located to the ends of the beam, which don't really allow you to cut anything longer, but it gets this trip hazard out of the way on both ends.
And you can't tell, we've got some stuff ordered for the upgrades for some of the stuff they figured out on here, and Dad's excited about getting some of the upgrades.
The standard mill is a 1/4 kerf. You can get a thin kerf blade, which as soon as I get home from Aaron's, I'm going to order a set of thin kerfs, which are 3/16. That'll speed the mill up.
Plus you have less waste.
More yield.
Yep. So the way this thing works is when you're going down your log, we'll just show you without a log here, you go down and the mill cuts in a horizontal position. So once you get to the end of your cut, the end of your log,
you change the blade.
You switch the blade to a vertical position and come back down, and now as you come back down, by the time you get to the end of the log, now you have a rough cut squared log in one single pass, instead of with a band mill having to go down, pick the blade up, come back, you know, and cut the slabs, then turn the slabs, and then go back down. With this mill, every single time you walk back and forth, you have one finished product, one finished piece of wood.
The mill also has an emergency stop, so if you're pushing along and you have a issue, you can just do that with your fist, and it shuts the engine down.
This mill also, I think, even being their base model, as an electric start or a pull start, the electric start works great.
Pull start's really easy.
And I wanted to show you guys just what you could do. Yes, they do make bigger mills that have more bells and whistles, but I wanted to show you guys on this. This is about a 12, a little over 12, almost 13 foot log. It's right around 16, 17 inches through the center. But I want to show you, even with a small mill, what you can produce. You don't have to have a big, massive mill, especially if you have a little homestead like I have. My dad has a farm up in Western North Carolina. You can do most everything you need to with this mill in a timely fashion, and it works great. And for the money,
and accuracy is absolutely great. If I understood Jake right, the beam has like a 1/2 thousandths deflection in 14 feet. Another thing about this mill, it's probably the safest mill you can have, because the blade is guarded, it's protected unless you're double cutting. But even when you push the mill, you're nowhere around the blade. You're behind a guard here, pushing and pulling.
And I will tell you, having myself, having had a good bit of experience with some other brands of bandsaw mills for years, working with some people, if you hit a nail, and I have hit a nail with this mill, you hit a nail, you've got to change a $20 to $50 blade band, depending on, you know, what kind of blade you're running. But with this mill, and we've just changed the teeth on these, if you're interested in seeing that.
Is probably cut in excess of 10,000 board feet.
Right. If you're interested in seeing changing the teeth, you can watch one of my earlier videos. But these teeth, if you hit a nail, these are only a couple dollars each.
They'll just chip.
And so you can just take the teeth out and replace it without having to change a very expensive mill. And plus, you can sharpen this. A bandsaw blade you can't sharpen on the mill without some very, very expensive jigs. But this comes with the sharpener. We'll show you guys that in a minute, to be able to sharpen the blade. And
all you have to have is a cordless drill or electricity, and it's just I may, Lord, let you do this. But you just take this little tool right here.
You don't have to take the blade off or anything.
And you just put the pin in, and then you just turn your drill on, and that's all they are to sharpening.
It takes about 3 or 4 minutes to sharpen all 5 teeth on the blade. And I like to do that. I probably sharpen more often than I should, but it just makes
and you can tell when you need to sharpen the blade, because the sawdust shavings are typically something like that, the long ones. And then when you get to throwing the little bitty short ones, it's time to sharpen the blade. It don't really affect us.
One of the other things I want to say about this mill, and because I live in Georgia, Dad lives in North Carolina, he's nice enough to let me bring this down here to use it from time to time. And it takes us about an hour to break this mill down and set it back up. So that's one of the great things about this mill. It is very portable. And if you've got a trailer, you can take this thing down and take it wherever you need to go, set it back up. And if you don't have a big tractor, you can take and you can set this, if you had a big log you wanted to cut, say you had a really big log, like one that was like 36 inches, you know, a big tree.
I have cut 36-inch logs on it, and so has Aaron.
Yes, so like if you didn't have a way to pick it up, you could set this up easily around your log and then mill the wood, pick the wood up, and load it without having to move, you know, a 2-ton log.
Okay, with this mill, the diameter does not matter with this mill. I watched a video with Jake Peterson milling a big eucalyptus log somewhere in New Zealand or somewhere, but it was a bigger mill than this, but they had it set up in the bed of 2 1-ton trucks, two 1-ton flatbeds, and they whittled that down to where they get the mill on the ground and finish milling it. So diameter has no bounds on this mill. And if I get another beam, which I'm planning on ordering another beam this year and getting the center support for my mill, I'll be able to cut 22 feet. And I'm 61 years old, and 22 feet and a 6x6 is about all I don't think I could even handle it. That's for Aaron to do.
All right, guys, so I'm going to put this on time lapse. What I'm going to do is on time lapse, you'll see us setting up this log here, getting it squared up, and getting ready to cut. And then after we get done with that, I will flip it back to real time and show you guys what we did. All right, so you can see the scale here. You've got a place that says kerf. Let me lower this down. Right, so this counts for your offset for your blade.
The thickness of the blade.
So if I set this right there to the top of that line, now when I come down 1 inch, I'm gonna be at 1 inch after the blade gets through cutting. Now Dad's gonna go down and I'm gonna show you guys what we were just doing. You saw on time lapse. We set the saw up and we made sure as we ran this saw down that it's staying, you know, nice and even to the log. Now you can do it to the side of the log, the center of the log. I just set it up, it's a little bit off center, but it's still running straight right down where the log needs to go. All right, so we're gonna come down 1 inch from where we're at to start getting the top of our log leveled. So what he's gonna do, he just trips that little lever. He's going to come down just past the 1 inch mark, and then he's going to come up where it says 1 inch, and then we're going to come down on this side and repeat the process. We already have it set up just above the kerf to count for our kerf. So he's going to come down just past 1 inch. So now we know that. There we go. So now we know that including the 1/4 inch kerf on that blade, we just came down 1 inch. So what we cut on top. All right, so we've got the top of our log leveled. And you can watch, I'll have that push this mill back up. And so now when we start cutting any dimensional lumber, You can see we've got it just on the side, so it's going to come down right next to the edge of the bark there. You can see that blade coming down, and it's just going to trim right through the edge of the bark. And what I'm going to do before I start cutting weatherboard on this log, because I need a lot of casing, window trim casing and stuff for the old house, we're going to cut 2 4-inch 5/4 boards, or 1 1/4 inch thick by 4-inch wide boards to use for casing and trim work. And then that's going to get us to the widest part of this board to start cutting our weatherboard. Alright, so instead of 2 4-inch boards, we decided to get 1 6-inch board because the 6x will be a little bit more handy doing the window casings. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to get 6-inch weatherboards, and we recently upgraded with the weatherboard attachment. And so what you can see here is it's got 2 slots for the handle. So by weatherboard, we can put it here or put it vertical, and what it's going to do is going to give us an angled board for siding for the house. So
lap siding.
Yep, lap siding for the house, not shiplap, but just weatherboard. All right, guys, so I guess we've got about half of through this log, and you can see what I'm talking about by the weatherboard. You can see how it's thicker up here by 1/2 inch, down to about 3/8 here, a little over 1/4. So that's going to let us, when we put up on the house, it's going to let it overlap and give us a nice level run. And we're getting quite a few boards out of this log. So we're going to finish getting this thing cut down in the weatherboard and wrap everything up here. right, guys, so we got our good stack of weatherboard here. It looks like there's a lot of waste on this log if you look on this end. However, you can see as you walk down how tapered this log was. So once you get down here, that's about an inch. So there's really not much more we can get out of this log. Now we probably might surface it real quick because I do make some benches and stuff, but this one's pretty thin. So this one will probably just be going in the scrap pile.
You don't have nowhere to go down to make it surface.
Yeah, this one's about it. But you can see besides that one piece that's down to 1.5 inches, we got our 5/4 board. And other than that, the only scrap's just these few pieces right here. And the rest of that's all good weatherboard. That we'll be using to put, like I said, on my almost 200-year-old house. So just want to do a review of this sawmill. The thing has done excellent, worked like a champ. There's going to be a lot more milling videos coming out between me and my dad here.
Okay.
Let me clean off the screen here. There we go.
The big question that people have is, does a homestead need a sawmill? Well, you can see the big pecan over there that Aaron's got blowed down.
Yeah, that fell a little while ago.
Beautiful tree, and it hit the ground last year. There is a slabbing attachment available for this saw that you can cut slab 48 inches. That's on our plans for the future. But for right now, I live in a house that was built in 1903. He lives in a house that was built in 1827. And I've got 3 barns, one that was built in 1923, one that was built in 1896, and one that was built in 1966, and a big shed that was built in 1974. And they're all in desperate need of repair. So yes, if you've got buildings to keep up, in my opinion, you need a sawmill.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and get these stickered up, and then put these up to get drying for to put on the side of the house here in a few months. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And if you might be interested in a sawmill, make sure and check out Turbo Sawmill. The link to their Facebook page and their website will be in the pinned comments.
Smith Sawmill Services is the United States dealer.
Yeah.
In Eastern Texas.
And you can find them by, you just look up Turbo Sawmill, the links I'm gonna put.
Yeah, you can find them.
It's gonna bring up the